Hello, everybody. How you doing tonight? So yeah, as you can see, I wanted to celebrate a little bit of creativity in the industry and outside the industry. Like anybody doing anything new, exciting, or maybe just thinking of doing something. It can be just self improvement, like exercise. If anybody's watching Matt Sinster on Instagram, he's been doing a really good job over the past few months, giving updates daily, sometimes multiple times a day, on his success in creating a better exercise program for himself. Considering he has injuries, there's a little creativity involved. So that's one I wanted to point out there really quickly. Um, Beyond that, we have Ashton Palmer. Not only creative, but like a forerunner in the industry for powder coating and doing things that no one's ever done before. You got people like Jake, who's in chat, doing his resin work and such, like his resin mods and stabwood designs. That's something that you don't see anywhere else. But this creativity, I feel like it's kind of in there. 44 pounds down since January, lost a full toddler. That's a little more than a toddler. That's like a 5-year old. And good to see you there. Uh, it's the creativity can come from anywhere. If anybody can inspire you to think outside the box, do something that maybe you used to love, don't love anymore as much because of something going on, or just something completely new that you want to try. That's something you're not expecting to want to do. These are things that you actually, we do this on a regular basis. We try to be positive and think of positive things. And personally, I can't think of anything more positive than seeing my family, my friends, family, whatever you want to call the community, succeed and do new things. And yeah, thank you, Ern, for thanks for the update the other day. I do when people are going through stuff. I do like to hear from you guys, and it doesn't have to be a show day. Anytime something's going on, I'm here. I'd like to know that you're all right, and that's all. I mean, that's me. I'm trying. I try to reach out to everybody as best I can, and I forgot to turn off the sound on my phone, so I apologize. Hopefully, it doesn't make any more noise. But yeah, get a block. It will be clear, and mistakes lead to success. Yeah, the blocks. If you haven't noticed, Jake made some blocks lately. I didn't realize that it actually has wood in it. It's like CNC'd out or something. Very interesting, creative design that I haven't seen before. And to me, I love seeing this kind of thing. It's innovation at its finest. We have people in industry that are friends of ours that have created addies, created mods, they've created all kinds of things. I mean, if anybody's watched Ashton, he doesn't just powder coat mods, he powder coats everything. A lot of bike parts, motorcycle parts, car parts, beyond. But the some of the things he does and the way he color coordinates it and creates layers, it's things that were unheard of before. So this means a lot. It's the creativity in the industry that really makes it thrive. It's something that should never end, should continue to go. And I'm sorry, I'm trying to get back in chat so in case anybody wants to say something. Um, we should strive to continue with innovation and creativity, and that's something that legislation is not helping us with. Another reason why we really need to work on our advocacy side. Keep telling your stories of success. Your creativity can be part of your story. Jake, when you tell your story, you like to design things, you like to make things and create things within this love you have for the industry. That's something that we don't see from the perspective of our legislation. They don't see it. But that kind of love and innovation is something that they need to hear about. This is something that's a hobby of mine. People like M Turk and such that use their coil building as a therapy of sorts, as well as making a little bit of money, but mostly it's a therapy. That's how it started. And there's lots of people in the industry that have that kind of thing going on. We just, yeah, you can't rush things. You got to do things that the more creative you are, the less likely you are to rush it. If you rush things, you get the same result you expect. You don't get perfection if things are rushed. You get average. You get something that's pushed through, something that Think about last Chinese New Year. They rushed. Was it Asmodus? One of them rushed their stabwood mods, and they had all kinds of issues. They had the wrong stamping on some of them. They had peeling and cracking on their stabwood. That's what you get when you rush. You don't get creativity. You get mistakes. Take your time. Do it the right way. Like, I can't wait until the day that Jake figures out how to exactly do his C-frame. I know it's going to happen. I think we all know that he's going to succeed at some point because he's got that creativity within him, and it's something that he strives for, is to try and improve on his own designs, and he will figure it out. It's just a question of when. Yeah, the FDA and the rules. Yeah, ironically, that might be your inspiration, Jake. His hobby, because of the FDA and the rules. It might be the inspiration for making it, but they made something special. They made something created from inside your mind that no one else would have ever been able to do exactly like you do. That, like, if anybody hasn't seen it, Nick Grim Green's Imperial mod, that came out of his head. And I believe it was Jake that made the goat blocks that Grim got a long time ago. If I'm incorrect in that, please correct me, Jake. But if I remember a long time ago, I thought those were Jake too. Yeah, Damascus steel is another alternative, but Damascus steel, I mean, I've heard things, if it's done right, it's beautiful, it's excellent. But I have heard of horror stories on it where it peels, can be sharp, if it's not done right. So it's something you really need to learn how to do, and that's another creativity. Like, there's some Philippine mod makers that really make some beautiful Damascus steel mods. Yeah. And the plates and stuff that Jake's talked about before. If he had the right material, if he had the right equipment, he could even go beyond this creativity that he has now. Sometimes the equipment does hold you back a lot. I understand that as well. But yeah, this is Jake. You were one of the people I wanted to bring up today, so I'm glad you're here. I did want to talk about your creativity and celebrate it. By the way, Vaping Trucker, the fundraiser is still active. I don't believe we haven't had the auctions yet for the last stands either. Those will happen on Saturday on Fresh 3's channel. There's a few more Lumi stands up for sale, auction, whatever. Yeah, stainless steel Damascus. And yes, I made it and know how to make it. See, there. It's a lot of work. And you have to have the drive to do that. Same with Matt, the way he's going through, Matt Sinister, the way he's pushing himself through and getting his exercise program to get his health back. He was injured a lot of years ago. He had to fight and think of creative ways in order to bring his health back, because he can't do the traditional workouts he used to do without causing himself too much pain to even function. Even with his new program, he has to push the limits occasionally to try and strengthen up those muscles. Excuse me. And that creativity is bettering himself as well. The only thing that Jake does that doesn't better himself is when he cuts his fingers constantly, because, I don't know, you gotta give him some kind of gloves he can still feel through, but that are cut proof, so he doesn't cut himself. Yeah, and Kadama stabwood brick diamond. Yeah, see, that's such a sad thing. It's because it was rushed. They did a lot of rushing on some of it, and I've had that too. Actually, this one, we got one that was discounted. We know why, because these buttons weren't perfect, but they still released it, at least with the discount. This button's a little extra thin or something, or more flexible, because occasionally if you hit it just right, it will catch. There is a timer on it, so it does kick out. It's not going to actually do anything more. It could possibly burn a pre-made coil or something, but it's not serious because there is a timer on it, but it does give you that jolt of fear that kicks in. And DIY is another thing, creativity wise, that I've been more of a part of, and I'll tell you, it is amazing, because it's like being in a kitchen making food. That creative nature is when you come up with your best works, the most interesting flavors, things you'd never expect. He's not here right now, But it seems how a couple other people will pick on him for it. I don't see Derek here, but gotta give a shout out to Derek and his spaghetti tacos. He might not have invented it, but he definitely pushes it more than others, and that's a creative nature. I mean, spaghetti and tacos, you don't see it together. It's not terrible. It's not great, but it's something. You know, you got your hot dog. Don't forget your hot dog bread if you're had a little bit too much to drink. So, shout out to Duchess. By the way, the creativity. If you guys haven't watched Duchess, KVTV, and Cloud Cartel working together and challenging each other and creating like amazing works of art, really, with their coils, that is something to behold. You really should go check that out. I believe it's the 29th this weekend. They are having a live on with that not them. Maybe it is this weekend, but I this weekend the 29th is also Bathing Jedi, the and Cloud Cartel. They do their they're doing their first live this weekend, I believe, actual live instead of doing a podcast. So that's going to be something else to check out. As we support each other throughout this when things are going on, and when you see people trying to be creative and do things outside of their comfort zone, you know, it's not easy. Yeah, pain can be a great teacher. That means Jake has learned a lot, because I know he's hurt himself quite a few times. Yeah, and sometimes you're in a hurry and trying to finish things or just get it just right. Like, I know that you've gotten yourself a few times to the files trying to file out your face plates. It's a lot of work, you know. You're trying to get it just right. It's easy to pay too much attention to what you're doing and maybe not where your fingers are. You know, it's the same with opening packages. Cut toward your buddy, not yourself. Cut toward yourself, not your buddy. It depends on what you want to do, but just be careful. You just take a little care. Don't get too lost in the moment and get hurt in the process. There's going to be a show on tonight with Grim Green after this. Tune in if you're a member of the community. If not, maybe you'll learn something anyway. I'd still tune in, because you might learn something in the advocacy front that maybe you didn't understand when it comes to the community that I'm talking about. There are things that, you know, maybe other people don't completely understand across the pond. There's a special episode, Lupus and Mental Health Awareness. There it is. And they're going to have a waffle, apparently. But it's support everybody that's going through something different. Lando with his podcast, you know, the What in Horror podcast that I'm on with him. You know, that's something out of his comfort zone, is being out in front of people. And he has come a long ways because of that. These are things that we really should strive. I realize I'm on Top Chat. No wonder I'm not seeing everything. It feels like I'm missing stuff. And it won't let me switch it. There it goes. Okay. I was like, well, looking at it, I was like, man, people are talking. It doesn't quite make sense. Now it makes a lot more sense. Yeah, carpenters, constant injuries. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I pinched a finger, got a splinter, cut myself when I was helping out with carpentry. Even working on machinery as a mechanic, a line mechanic in paper mill, and in doing R&D work and working in a forge and everything. I've had titanium fragments in my eye. I nearly died with a bolt that fell out of a machine, and the bolt, I'm not kidding you, the threads on it were that big around. It came out of a forge, and it landed, like, it brushed my leg as it bounced. It was that close to me. It fell like 30 feet down. That was a close call that actually rattled me a little bit. I don't normally get rattled, but yeah, that thing had hit me in the head. I'd been done. All the dangle clacks. Dangle clacks are just a way of life. Support people through the dangle clacks for sure. Ian, love you, brother. Yeah, this family means a lot to me. And to see every one of you as you try to do things and succeed, or even if you're not succeeding yet, don't give up. And if you're not the one doing it and you're watching someone try, please support them. It means a great deal to know that you're not just taking your time and doing something and you feel it's hard to not feel like you're doing it for nothing. It's something that it's a easily self-defeat inside if you don't see a little bit of results. And that could just be people being around. Hey, Tabitha. But the family matters. And I cannot believe how much we've seen people come out of their shell and do things. It started like when I first met Ashton. He was just starting out, just did a few mods here and there and stuff. And it was to see his business grow the way it has to the point where he's doing major manufacturers, even got his own signature line. These are things you don't, I mean, where would you see that as quickly as it grew? Jake, can't think of hardly anyone in the industry that's ever watched a YouTube channel, any hobbyist, that probably doesn't know who you are. And has probably looked at one of your mods and said, ooh, I want one of those. It's something that you become like a household name in the community. Addy Tooney started off tuning mods and doing his own coils and DIY, and he's kind of like the jack of all trades. He's like the core heart of this community. He started somewhere. He had to one time decide, hey, I'm going to stand up for vape. I'm going to become an advocate. I'm going to become a modifier, I guess you'd call him. He's not really a mod maker, but he's a mod upgrader. I don't know the exact word to that. Yeah, Tooney is a legend. Something that, you have Fresho 3 and Wendy and KVTV all doing new things. You have Frames Janklin. Sorry about that. Apparently a card wanted to try and peel out and didn't do a good job. You have Frames. You have all these people just working together all the time. Hi, James. Modder. There it is. Modder. I was trying to think of the way it was. I knew it was something that kind of rhymed. I couldn't remember. But yeah. And to see people do these things, how you had just had Overdrip start his new line and it's kicking off. Everyone who's tried it absolutely has loved it that I've seen. I haven't seen anyone say they hated his liquid, which is good. And that's to say something because taste is subjective. But to be able to get the positive response from as many people as he does. You got some people that are being creative with just the way that they're trying to run the business. Steel Valley Vapors has become a harm reduction store now because of new regulation. They had to do something and they decided to switch to create creativity and different thought processes in order to do that. Yeah. It takes one success too. One. A lot of failures, like Jake was saying, happen. But one success, and that your heart fills with joy. When I started doing this and started working, focusing on mental health and checking on people, it just took one. One person that actually I knew was in a really bad spot, and they were doing better afterwards. And I knew I was always never going to stop. I have no intentions of stopping for that reason. Because it's all it takes is one success to feel that warmth and feel that love. Yeah, Jake, you're modest for sure. I agree with her. The artistic vision, you have to think ahead on. You and Ashton, you're kind of my artist friends. The way you guys see things and no one else will see. It's unfortunate Stan isn't doing anything right now when it comes to Tenacious TX. Isn't doing anything right now in the vape industry with designing anything at the moment because of everything going on. That I know of anyway. But he has taken his creative nature to a different spot and started restoring cars and doing a little modifications to the vehicles. And not just that, but doing other modifications and building things. Still keeping his creativity alive. We have to adapt sometimes to keep that going, but it's necessary to further yourself, make yourself into a better person and more proud of yourself. If you can make yourself proud of yourself, then anything is possible. That's what, if you guys read the intro, that's what I mean. As long as you don't let your imagination die and you keep thinking, even if it's not working at the time, you can't make it right then and there what you want to design or make. As long as the creativity is there, write things down in a notebook. Keep your ideas alive. Have yourself a little like brainstorming notebook where you write things down and look at it every once in a while. See if there might be some things in there you might want to revisit, and maybe now you could do, but you couldn't before for some reason. Like Jake building his mods. Maybe at one point he couldn't build a certain mod the way he wanted to because he didn't have the materials or something was missing. And now he could revisit that same brainstorming notebook. Oh my God, I forgot about that. I can do that now. You just never know. An art collector for a long time. Yeah, I can't create either. I can do. Okay, what ruined me was drafting and design. Learning how to do drafting design destroyed me for being able to think abstract, I guess. I'm not I can only see things in straight lines, numbers, and equations. It's hard for me to see things. I can see them when other people do it. I can admire others, but I can't create that way because it's an OCD thing. My OCD kicks in, and when I see it's not perfect, it'll drive me crazy, even though that's exactly what you want as an imperfection in some cases. It's just an OCD thing. I can't help it. I'm sure others have that problem as well, but you can appreciate others that are able to do it. I feel kind of sad that my daughter stopped painting because she was actually pretty good. One of these days, I will bring out some of her paintings and show you guys. Not kidding. I was really, really impressed with how well she did as a teen painting. Like the R2D2 she painted was awesome. Things I didn't expect and wouldn't have expected her to be able to do. And now because she's in college and she's busy all the time, hasn't done it in a while. And you can lose that talent either permanently or at least temporarily, and you have to work your way back in. It isn't just like riding a bike where it comes right back instantly in most cases. Yeah, we're having a loud day here today for some reason. So what are your guys' passions? What is everybody's passion? What do you love to watch, see, or who would you like to give credit to that has made something or done something that's just kind of blown your mind away recently? I'm sure there are other people that have felt this, or maybe something you're particularly proud of. I'm sure Jake has something that he's really proud of that he's recently done. If he doesn't, then he should, because like I said, you were one of the people I wanted to shout out tonight. I was thinking this week about what I wanted to do, and I wanted to focus on just giving thanks to those who have created so many beautiful things. And in some cases, that's beautiful, like friendships, beautiful hearts. It's not always a physical thing. There are just some people like Jake and Ashton who just create beautiful works of art that you can actually see that are tangible as well. I really don't know of anywhere else you could see these things like this as they're being made. Another one I want to give a shout out to is as far as creating beautiful works of art. If you guys haven't been watching, Lizzie, Sean Typhon's other half, she actually has been creating a lot of crocheting and stuff. She's created different stuffed animals and such. If you are part of the Discord, you can see it in there. She's been posting them sporadically as she goes along, but the creative nature of some of the things that are being made, it's like that's art. Any form of art is art, and sometimes art can be just, I said, Matt. It can be just thinking outside the box. It takes that creativity to do things. In my case, what Matt has done has inspired me to get more exercise in as well. My knee and my shoulder are kind of shot, the joints themselves. I've learned to work around them, but seeing Matt push himself and try and get himself back into shape, regardless of how bad his back was, makes me want to try too. And I've been doing more of it, and I've been working around it and trying to figure out ways to strengthen my knee back up, and it's been doing better. It still hurts on rainy days. Can't do much about it. Yeah, content for a podcast is creativity. It's you have to think. If you don't, then it's going to be monotone. There won't be much to it. Yeah, Duchess, Sloan, KV, yeah, just Mitch. Yeah, Mitch with his liquids. Uh, some of the DIY community is just amazing. Gotta give a shout out to Mandalorian. He included me in one of his mixes. Made a Jack Daniels. He's trying to make a Jack Daniels. It turned out to be a little bit oaky version of a Jim Beam, so it got renamed to Jim Beam. But he included me in the initial testing of it to find out if it was spot on, and I did suggest it tasted more like a Jim Beam, and then we agreed on that. But that is an additive to a flavoring. If anybody likes alcohol flavorings in their vape, check it out. He has it. I believe it. I believe it's either on there. It will be on for access for public, but it will be a game changer for anyone who wants like a bourbon. If you want a bourbon vape, it's just I can't even tell you. I don't want to get into it too much without him here, but he can explain it in more detail. But to me, that was like, it made me smile a lot to think that he even wanted to include me in that testing process. So, 7 years cancer free. Now that's the news we need to hear. 3 more years of, 3 more years though. That's, if you've been doing it for 7, that would be, you're 7/10 of the way there. Yeah, that's awesome. It's good to hear good news. The truckers thing, that went really fast, not in a great way. His quality of life was still better for the last however many years he was vaping instead of smoking. Let's not forget that. It's not always the cure because sometimes the damage is already there, but it can definitely help. In some cases, it can completely allow you to be cancer free and not have to worry about it as much. You can go into remission and stay there. Some people never bounce back out of remission because of it. COPD typically gets better, and that doesn't come back. COPD won't come back unless you start smoking again in most cases. Yeah, lack the words in department. Sorry, I'm reading what Jake said. Don't know what I want to say. I can't always think the words. Relay what I want. You don't have to always relay the words. Jake, you are definitely a pillar in the community. Everybody knows who you are, and there's a reason for it because you are there. You're there constantly. You're there for people when they need you. You do your best. Sometimes we need help ourselves, but you're there. You're also a part of the community that actually creates these works of art that people can watch as they come along because you take pictures as you're making them, and you get to see these works of art start off as just a dream and become a reality. To me, that actually is one of the most wonderful things I could ever imagine. I don't know what I would do. I'd be bored. I'd be very bored if our community wasn't so creative. And the dog's bored, fell asleep. But my heart's overflowing with joy for being a part of a community that has such a level of creativity. It is not normal. See, the only other community that has this much creativity would be like the artistic world, the true artistic world, like paintings or, drafting and design places. But to see as much talent as we see in our community, it seems like it's big. 13 million, sounds like a lot, but it's really a drop in a bucket compared to the population. But yet it's got, percentage-wise, I think it has one of the highest percentages of creative minds in the entire world. I'm trying to think of another community outside of a true art community that probably is, most of those communities are niche, and they're creative, but they're creative in their own little sects. combined they would amass a lot of people. But to have a community that's so vast and still have such a high percentage of creative minds and thought processes. There are people that put out content that's just sheer entertainment, like Grim Green, and then there's people that put out, if anybody watches a coffee talk with Legion Vapes, it's just a nice, calm, peaceful. You get out there. You have any camera questions, you can guarantee you can talk to Legion or anyone that's in the chat. Or if you have DIY questions, there's always people in those chats. There's always people in the DIY chats when it comes to Wendy KVTV's channel or Fresh 03's channel. And there's many, many more. These are just the three that I was most involved with and watched the most because it's my time schedule. It's kind of, you only so many hours in a day you can watch people. It sucks because I would like to just watch people all day long, but unfortunately, life gets in the way. Yeah, see, cat's snoring as well. If I can throw my stone in a lake, make a ripple. Exactly. Now think about that, Jake. Your stone in a lake, that's a ripple. Now think of all the stones that get thrown in a lake with creativity in our community. Think of our community as this one small lake, medium-sized lake. And all these stones being thrown in it, these aren't ripples anymore. These are downright waves. And it's something that should be celebrated on a constant basis. We should be thankful for being a part of this community, seeing the innovation. And you think there's no innovation. Everybody's like, oh, well, RDAs have all been done. Really? Look back 5-10 years ago. They said they were all done. Still seeing innovation. I still got ideas up here. I know others do too. It might not be in fruition yet, but there are ideas where it can change things. There's innovation yet to come. Do you really think Kent's all done thinking? There's a creative mind right there. Also a great coil builder. He's still got Homeboy making his liquids and coming out with new ones. The Nick Grim Green coming out with his own line for the Super Good line. It's going to be coming out. It will be UK, unfortunately, but it's coming out. The creativity level is still there. It still gets better. And every time a new flavor comes out, this is where I feel like we're making our biggest mistake with current legislation. Flavors. The flavors that were out in 2009, 2010, I don't know how people were able to quit. They had to have been determined, severely determined, because the flavors were not helping. They were very, very niche and very not that great. Yeah, I need a 5-axis machine. I couldn't talk her into it either. Plus, so I just got flipped off. I'm number one. Yeah, same reason why you haven't seen an RDA from me yet, Jake. Yeah, I would like to do my own testing on it rather than have a company deal with it back and forth. It's just not. Rather make my own prototype and then go to somebody with it. But the changes in flavors just within the past year. Wonder Flavors has come out with a bunch of new flavors. You have Swaggy Shane's come out with a bunch of new flavors. You've had Flavora's come out with new flavors. All these new flavors are closer to the actual flavor they're supposed to be than anything previous to them, most of them. Now what happens is as these flavors keep improving, with the PMTA situation, you have to apply, hope you get approved. You can still apply. It's not cut off, but you no longer get that waiting period while they're deciding whether you get it. You don't get to just put it on the market. You'd have to hold off and wait. And that's unfortunate because that could be a couple of years of somebody getting a flavor that actually will stop them from actually smoking and transition over, even if it is to the point where they're part-time, dual user. And it could be the difference and change everything. And it's unfortunate because we're holding back over a flavoring. And I could see some flavorings. Some flavorings that contain alcohol or things that aren't that good for you. But there are also a lot of flavorings that are made with natural extracts the proper way. Swaggy Shane's one of them. His new flavors would be a problem with once they go into a liquid. They're fine as a DIY. You can mix it yourself. They can't do anything about that. But if a commercial liquids wants to use those flavors, they would have to apply and wait for the pre-approval process. During that time, while it's being pre-approved, and it could get denied for some reason or another, and be it a real reason or something else, that's a time period that someone could actually use that flavor to quit. And I think that is extremely unfortunate. During this time, you might potentially be condemning someone to wind up coming down with worse lung illnesses, more COPD, or even cancer. While we wait, while we allow our, this is where creativity matters. This is why the DIY community matters so much. And if you can help convert more people to it, the more likely you are to help other people get on the right train and have a healthier life. I'm still giggling. Yeah. But, I'm not allowed to spend any money on new, I got a lot of projects going. I always have projects going. Some of them I'm going to try and get some film of and then show you guys the little clips of it. Tune in to the Vaping Jedi on the 29th. I know that they have their show going on. Well, it's not on your channel. It's on Cloud Cartel channel, I believe. But it's actually going to be an actual live show. I'm really looking forward to that. That's a big step. Check out what Jake is doing with these new blocks. It's something completely different than what he usually does, because this is something that's actually been machined in before he put it in, instead of just being... Well, the others are too. So I guess it's not completely new. It's just... I don't know. It looks different. It's not your typical thing, Jake. It looks more like your designer series is what this reminds me of. And it's glow in the dark. I think that's absolutely awesome. It's just... And like I said, Ashton Palmer, if you want to see a powder coating job unlike anything you've ever seen before, go check him out. He can still do his job on things, because he's not actually selling anything, mods. He's just recoding them, repurposing them for you. So he's still open for business. So please go check him out, and maybe you can get yourself something coded, some piece of history that's specific to you that nobody else has. That's the best thing about it too. There's a lot of one-of-ones. You can get a one-of-one, something specifically tailored to your taste, or give them parameters and say, make a work of art for me. That's also an awesome thing. Yeah, see, CNC machine. Yeah, I get that. CNC machine. Oh, Jake, I've been thinking the same thing. Believe me, I really have. CNC machine would change my life. And I'm getting... So, yeah. Now, who do you think has been the most innovative, creative thinker when it has come to advocacy as of late? Because I have to give a shout out to Logan and Alex. They've been doing a lot, and I like the way that they're going, something different, and they started it a little bit more. It's a little more grassroots, like direct feel, interaction than we've had a long time. I think I gotta give them credit for what they're doing right now with their show, their podcast they're doing every week. It's something that we needed. We needed it before. I wished it happened before the PMTAs, before the whole Trump debacle. I really wished it happened back then. But as long as we're moving forward, we're moving forward. Anyone who's not watching either now or on replay, UK, thank you. Keep pushing it. Keep on pushing for, pushing forward for the vape community. It's needed. It's harm reduction. It's personal choice. These are things that should not be. I mean, I'm a don't tread on me guy. Really am. I think everything should be your own personal choice. Maybe I wouldn't agree with everything everybody does, obviously, but I don't need to. It's their choice. Unless they're directly affecting me, it's not going to bother me. Unless they're directly affecting someone else or putting someone else in danger, let them do their thing. It's just how life should be. It should be up to your personal choice on what you do to your body and the way you do it, especially if it's a harm reduction thing. I can't stress enough, if you're trying to make yourself healthier, there should be no legislation standing in your way to stop that from happening. It is by far one of the craziest thought processes I've ever determined and watched. I'd never been a political person until I stood up for this community. That and ever since, you can't close your eyes to it. Once you see the cracks in the concrete, you realize that dam's there, and you're just amazed it's holding up at all, because the craziness is behind it. Yeah, they don't listen to reason the way you want them to. Your best chances are to tell your story and help pull at heartstrings with the truth. Being told by legislation, I always thought that science-based was the entire way to get there, until I started going to hearings, started talking to my senators, and realizing they were telling me back, we don't have time for this. We're not going to do this. But when I talked to them about, have you had anyone in your family that's had cancer, and asking that, if you get a chance to talk to them, they say yes, or they know someone that had cancer and how bad it was. That's the ultimate goal of harm reduction, is to not have people go through that. We have someone in chat here tonight that already has gone through, 7 years cancer free. That's a great thing to hear, and knowing that you're here that's the heartstrings right there. And that's what they need to feel. They need to feel that and realize the difference and what difference it makes to people. And then that flavors matter to do that. I know if you're not a part of the vape community, I apologize for this part of the stream, but it's important that people outside the community as well know that there's a good reason for the vape community. It's to just help people live a healthier life, to stay away from cancer as best as possible. 95% is pretty damn good when you consider air. Pure air is not 100%. You're at like 97, 98% tops for pure air. You can't even use pure oxygen, is not even safe. So 95% is pretty damn good. 95% safer. That's the 5% your body can handle, a percentage of not good for you in the first place. The jazz pattern. Solo cup pattern done special. Yeah. See that, Aaron, that'll be awesome. I can't wait to see pictures of it. Yeah. Just be there for one another. I'm not going to stay on super long tonight, but be thankful and try and help other people and try to support everyone you can. And support yourself as well. Support your own creativity. Do your own thing. Earn that solo cup profile pic pattern. That is you doing something creative. You want this created. Even if someone else is doing the work, it's also a part of your creative process to ask them to do it. Don't ever stop thinking that way. Yeah, flavors are so important, Tabitha. And something that you gotta explain to them. Nobody started smoking because they liked the flavor of the cigarette. Nobody started that way. No one likes the taste of ash in their mouth when they first start. You wind up staying there because it is addictive. To be able to take flavors and have that be an added bonus to switching, because it might not work as well, because the addiction of a cigarette is much harsher. The flavors help entice you. and the flavors aren't hurting you. I mean, there were some that were considered somewhat dangerous, as some that are more than others, more harsh on your lungs. But then there's also falsities, like the diacetyl situation. The percentage of parts per million that were in the air in order to cause popcorn lung is not even on the Richter scale of possibility compared to cigarettes or vape, because cigarettes are actually more potent than the vape products they used to complain about. They have more diacetyl in them in many cases. You know, exactly. And if you're going to have a vice, wouldn't you rather have a 95% safer vice than something that's a known killer? That's harm reduction. Keeping ourselves healthier, keeping ourselves in check, and becoming better ourselves while helping others. There's just no way other to say it than it's lunacy that there's anybody opposing this. There's one in particular that I got something in the mail today. I don't remember what it was, but it had his name on the back of it for his media. Bloomberg. Hate saying that name, but at the same time, it does help instill that fire in my gut to keep me going. Someone to have a personal agenda just so that they can have some kind of legacy and just trying to destroy a 95% safer, healthier alternative versus the one they can't touch, which is the demonizing the actual one. And with the media, you know, they say they can't touch it, but they can kind of go anti-smoking in the media to some degree. Why can't we? Why hasn't that been done? Why are we demonizing vape? Why not demonize the real killer? It sounds logical to me, but then again, apparently logic goes out the window when you have billions and billions of dollars you can just burn. Yeah, exactly. None of us would support a kid starting. No, I wouldn't. But if they're going to pick up a vice, who in their right mind wouldn't rather it be a vape than a cigarette? Just saying. I mean, if you're going to pick up a vice, I mean, in many cases, you think about it with alcohol. Alcohol creates more deadly situations than vape does. You know, how many people, you know, my senior year, here's a little history lesson. My friend Robbie on homecoming, he was drinking and cops flashed their lights. The cop only flashed his lights, didn't chase him, but it scared him. He took off, wound up taking a corner too fast, cut a telephone pole in half. Everyone else in the car survived, but my friend Robbie was pallbearer for his funeral. We got bused there because we refused not to be there. The school tried stopping us at first. But that was a drinking related incident back in high school. And I also didn't know until much later, like 6 months later, he did not die in impact like everyone thought. He actually died in one of my other friend's arms, choking on his own blood. This is the potentials of drinking. I know it's harsh, but it's true. Now, if they were vaping, would they have died? No. Would there have been an accident? Probably not. It would not have been like that. You see, that's still harm reduction in a way, in my mind. I mean, it's a hard thing to deal with, but yeah, and Robbie was one of those people. He was kind of like Trucker. He was just one of those really nice people that was always there for everyone. Robbie really was that person. He was the jock, but also like everybody's friend. And it was unfortunate that happened. And he was an only child. His parents still to this day struggle. Yeah, his father actually fixed up his car at a Monte Carlo, and it's still displayed. It's still parked on the side of the road. He can't do it. I only went to his grave one time, and that day was the day I found out that my ex had another bad accident and someone died in her class because she was a year behind me. And I haven't been back since because I go by there, but I won't stop at his grave because I mean that kind of freaked me out. So I felt like that day I had to stop. I stopped on the bike and visited, and yeah, so yeah, weird stuff. But that was something that wouldn't vape would be a much better vice. If you're gonna have a teenager, do you want them to be behind the wheel of a car at that age, drunk, or do you rather they have a vape? I'm sorry, but if you really cared about your kids, that'd be the least of my concerns in comparison if they're gonna pick up a vice. You know, yeah. And there's another friend of mine, the same thing, drinking and driving on a motorcycle, went way too fast, and he wound up passing away. He was a couple years ahead of me in school, but we used to, ironically, we used to party a lot together, go to parties. So it's not a real surprise, but he was drinking and driving. So while I was at a young age, I saw a lot of really bad situations from alcohol. I won't drink and drive. I refuse to because of that reason. Yeah. Hey, Derek, you got a shout out earlier, though. Don't worry. You can watch it if you want to. Yeah. Um, yeah, don't worry about missing some of the stream, Derek. We know you're part of the community. You're a very good part of the community. Actually, I don't really know very many. There's only a few, handful of people that I would say weren't the greatest people in the community, but many of them have personas that seem like they're not really. But behind the scenes, they're not as bad as you think. I see things from a different point of view sometimes. Sorry, it choked me up a little bit thinking about Robbie. Uh, he was a good friend, very good friend, and it's it makes these things when you go through things. That's what makes you the person you are, and the things I've went through all point me to the fact that a safer alternative to a known killer and a safer alternative for a vice versus virtually any vice I know of. I mean, think of any of the hardcore drugs that you could possibly be on it. I know a lot of people in this community have used vape to help keep them off that as well. Same with the reason why some of them do a lot of building and stuff like that and designing is because it keeps their thought process. To see that happen and have this community, this harm reduction technology be demonized, it infuriates me on a level that I can't. I have to fake it and calmly go in and pretend like I'm okay. You don't understand how hard that is, poor Lady Liberty. When I come home after going to a hearing, because I've heard all this BS over and over, same thing, same repeating records. One of the big three or four like myths that have already been proven and even said during these hearings that are not true, like Ivali, yeah, popcorn lung, and it's all the repeating. Nicotine, and it's like, is there nicotine in cigarettes? Yeah, okay, then who cares? Mute point. Shush. And that's the way I have to go about it. And you have to say this, waste your time to speak at every hearing, saying the same things over and over again. You've had people like Nick Grim Green have done doing this for over a decade, repeating the same things he was saying over 10 years ago, and still having people look at him like, oh, wow, I never heard that before. It just boggles your mind, makes your head want to explode. And I don't want to see that. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, after a hearing, sometimes I get a little ranty. It's hard. It's it's frustrating, very frustrating. And I'm thankful right now to the, ironically, probably what we consider one of our one arch nemesises, yeah, nemesises, Big Tobacco, because they're doing a great job fighting for our right to flavors in the state of Vermont. Because when we pushed it before, I was there at every hearing, and we managed to. I think it. I want to take credit for it because I know there were a few hearings that would have went a lot differently if I wasn't there, because there's no one else there. One in particular where they tried to parade some kids into the hearing, but they pulled them out because I was there and they knew I'd have a rebuttal. You could see them look at me and whisper to the kids, and then they took the kids out of the room, and they had a camera set in there, up in there, and everything to take it. Yeah, first time speaking. Yeah, that's. But these things, you go there and you have to repeat these things over and over and over again. But Big Tobacco right now is helping us big time because they got lumped together after the first failed attempt to try and push it. So now it's being lumped with flavors, with Big Tobacco flavors. So that's help. As long as enemy is my friend, and it's still a personal choice. Yeah, Ern, it was really bad. It wasn't just kids. We're talking about kids. But we're talking about kids. These were. Please forgive me if I don't word this right. Minorities. With they even had head wraps and stuff. I mean, they were going for the full out minority look here, trying to make people feel as guilty as possible having these kids talk. And to see them even in there, it's like, why are they here? Why would you bring a kid into this here? Oh, because they were there. They even what little they did talk before they went in, and I saw them in the hallway, they really didn't even know anything about vape. They're just like, oh, vaping's bad. That's really all they were going to say because they really didn't know. And they were going to parade them and put them on camera and use them as their spokespeople to try and push this through. Fortunately, that's the reason people have to be there and have to be willing to speak up, because if you're not there, there's not someone willing to speak up, something like that will happen. And once it happens, it's just a matter of days before they pass that legislation on past that point. You have to be there, and it's not an easy thing to do, and it's hard. And the hardest thing ever is standing up and talking in front of people like that. I had spaghetti legs at every single one of them I went to. It's not. I mean, if you're not scared, because it's almost like being scared for your life, because you are scared for your life and the lives of the people you care about. So it's not just going there to speak, but on top of that, you're actually scared because you are trying to fight for someone's right to live, the right to choose a better chance at a healthy life. It's sheer craziness. Yeah, I got. Oh. Yes, sir. Exactly. Adam, love you, bro. There's a creativity, perfect one right there. If you haven't checked out Adam's band, and Adam, you can put the link in chat because you have the power. Check out Adam's band. You want to hear a little bit of creativity? That'll make your day feel better. I guarantee it. You got to listen to some of his covers they've done. Just, I personally am I like the Turtles one. The Turtles cover is awesome. But yeah, it's just, we need creativity in our lives. We need positivity in our lives. We need people like Adam to be there to help us, make us feel better. Listening to some of his music, having some of those delicious flavors he creates. Having these things while you're dealing with the stress of trying to advocate is necessary. You need people like that to distract you and make you feel better when you're down. And yes, Adam, I have listened to you when I haven't felt well. You and Michelle Lynn. There's another one. You want to talk creativity? It doesn't get much more creative. Music is the heart and soul of the world. Without it. Oh yeah, okay. The covers are all him. All right. Okay, so I watched the other videos of you guys though. You're like tribute-ish music, but yeah, Adam does some awesome covers. But music, art, the community has all of it, so much of it, and so much love to be able to come forward what this community did for vaping trucker. Just look at this clip. This is the pre-clip for the thing. I mean, it's not a new one. This is actually was the 24-hour one, but there's a reason why I've been playing it. One is we're not done with it, but the other is look at the time they took and put into that. That's actually pretty freaking cool. Yeah, Bunny does jam out to that. And to raise almost 30,000, and hopefully we pass that 30,000 for his family. Because remember, insurance is not cheap, and he went through a lot of treatment. They got to pay for that. He didn't have insurance, so that has to be paid for. And also losing that income is a big, loss for his family. It sounds sad to say that when you lose a person, because the person should matter the most, and they do. But when you lose a person that is, the supporter for so many others, that puts the whole situation in a new perspective. We had the same thing when we lost Mark, his wife and family, and it's tough. It's hard to lose anyone. And the number one thing we need to do is fight for the right to try and keep people as healthy as we possibly can. There it is. There's the link I was looking for. We want to keep people as healthy as we possibly can. We want to help people stay healthier, longer, live better lives. Anyone who's watched or been through things, 7 years cancer-free. I want to see that like constantly. I want to see those type of things all the time. And where do we see this? Where do we see cancer-free or remission the most over any place else I've ever been? People who have switched. People who had bad COPD, who are now able to do exercises. And in some cases, like the one guy that came into the shop and explained his story, couldn't climb a flight of stairs. 3 years later, 3 years of vaping, and he was able to do triathlons. What else would have done that? Nothing. Yep, there you go, Ian. Yeah. And we need to celebrate people like Adam and people like Jake and people like Vaping Jedi. You need to celebrate these people. Addie, Fresh, all the creative minds, Ashton, Matt Sinister, all the creative minds that are creating things or motivating people to be creative. And that's where, you don't think of exercise as being creative, but it is. If you are dealing with injury and still being creative enough to work, it inspires others to do the same. That's what we need, more creativity. And I do not think our innovation is done in the vape industry. I do think that we can move further. Keep thinking. If you come up with an idea, don't give up on it. And if you can't really make it a fruition yourself, but you have an idea and you know someone else, pass it on if it's going to be something that's going to help. In the end, you should get thanks from that person. And that's what matters. Yeah, that's it. Oh, yeah, Jake's getting... by the way, congrats, Jake. I can't wait until you get into your new house. That is awesome. I have another friend of mine he's moving into his house in the end of June. He's going to start moving. He just got his house. Really good friend of mine here locally that, that's... it's really good to see, because this isn't the best time to necessarily buy a house. But for people to be in there, you got Fresh, you just moved as well. It's just, yes. All yes. All right, so I'm going to let you guys go so we can get going so that we don't cut into Grim Green's time. You guys got a few minutes to go get your drinks, get ready, get whatever you need beforehand. I love you, fam. Keep being creative, keep being good to each other, and keep reaching out. And if you need help, please reach out to somebody in the community, somebody who's willing to help. I promise you. Love you all.